From In the Beginning to the Musical Apocalypse, this is The Bible Says What. I'm your host, Mike Weisman. BSW has 3 new patrons to thank this week. First up are friends of the show R. Roberts and Dr. Goon23, followed by the show's new Firebrand level patron Scott. Firebrand level patrons get a signed copy of the book stuffed with all sorts of BSW stickers and cards. Thank you all for helping keep the recording light on. That being said, counting the hits but ignoring the misses. When a healer only counts the times it works, they have to find a reason for the times it doesn't work. Often, instead of accepting the real plausibility that the healing powers do not exist, and that there is usually a very natural explanation for when someone gets better, the healer pushes back, usually blaming some other force or person in the process. Reality is tough sometimes. Make-believe and fantasy can definitely help us along the journey, but it should be taken as just that, not real. It's important that we keep a barrier between the fanciful stories and reality. Let's start the show.
Is there anything in the Bible that you yourself have an issue with? Okay, so it took you reading the Bible to realize that those things were bad for you?
Yeah, it actually did. I
Couldn't
didn't
figure this out on your own?
No, Ted Bundy could be redeemed. God doesn't kill children.
What do you think the Passover was? Yahweh sets up a whole system in the Old Testament where you slaughter animals just so he's able to forgive you.
Today's special guest is traveling shaman Mark Weisman. That's right, his last name is Weisman. Welcome to the show, Dr. Mark
Thank
Weisman.
you so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. And of course, it's a double honor when someone else has close to my last name.
Close enough. Yeah, just spelled a little bit different. Sounds the same,
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
I before E, except after C, and all that kind of sort of thing.
All
right?
that crap. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man, who pays attention? We're also here. We're for the Santa Claus tryouts, just in case you guys
Yeah,
on
that's right.
video.
That's right.
We're definitely
Actually, I had to trim mine
almost
back.
there.
It got caught, and I cut off the big parts. So I
Oh,
had to trim
no,
it
that's
back.
terrible.
Yeah, that's okay. It'll grow back.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you do, Mark.
Well, I do a lot of things, but primarily what I try to do is I help people to find peace. When we talk about mental health, what we find is, this building of a stress and psychological trauma that can affect them in just a myriad of ways. And it all depends. It all comes back to some of the basic principles of, your genetics, obviously, ancestry. All of these things really have a part to play when we start balancing out the spirit with the physical body. And as we achieve that balance, we find that physical ailments, mental ailments, all of these ailments seem to begin to dissipate. And mental health is just another one of those ways that spirituality, when we begin to embrace what spirituality means to us, and what our ancestry brings to us, we can establish a better mental health, a way of living with our chemistry, our DNA, and certainly all of the spiritual influences that we will have in our lifetime. And so that's my goal. That's my whole hope. I work with primarily veterans of the United States military, as well as the United Kingdom military. And we just talk about ways of everybody wants to build coping mechanisms, and it's really not coping mechanisms. We don't want coping mechanisms because coping mechanisms is a signature on the line that says I'm broken. That's what I have to cope with something. I'm broken. And you're not broken. You're changed. You're grown. You've just adopted different energies, and you need to learn how to deal with those. And so I try to help people to see that and to experience joy and happiness and find what contentment looks like in the new them, whatever that that picture looks like.
And thank you. That was nice. Thank you. As far as lots of questions there, of course. I think we need to go back to the basic part of it, though. The spirit. How do you define that?
Well, I mean, there's a spiritual realm separate of us, and the way I define this is, if you think of an atom, okay, a physical atom of matter, it has three parts, right? It has a proton, a neuron, and an electron, right? And so if we say, oh, let's look at the atom, and we say the proton and the neuron are the nucleus, right? And so then we have this electron kind of floating around, depending on which cell you're talking about or which atomic structure you're talking about. We have many different.
Yeah, you take me back to high school here. Go ahead. I'm trying to keep up.
I didn't mean to do time travel on you as well. But if you think of the physical body as that nucleus, okay, and then your spiritual self, your spiritual energy is the electron. And this is how we exist in this duality. Because
as a whole.
Right. So we are part spiritual, mostly physical. And so it's our spiritual center that allows us to have those leaps and bounds sometimes of intellect, of wisdom that maybe we've never experienced, and we have no idea how we've picked this up. But yet here it is. We're smart, or just this random thought that comes into our head that just enlightens us beyond recognition. So this is our
gives us ideas,
right?
So this electron that's floating around is the spirit world.
Correct.
So how do we know that this electron, the spirit world, is floating around?
I think there's evidence every day. Think about it. If you took 100 babies born today, we'll say, okay,
100 of them. All right.
100 of those 100 babies, 98% of them, 98 would have 5 fingers, 5 toes, both eyes that work, everything's functional, good to go, out the door.
Right.
2 of those babies would have some level of DNA manipulation that made them unique, even more unique than they already are. And it's that decision matrix that tells me beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's something else making a decision about us, external to the self.
So there's an intelligent force out there that is manipulating our DNA before we are fully.
Let me correct you.
Yeah.
I just want to correct you. They don't manipulate our DNA. We do.
Okay. We do.
And that's already been scientifically proven that where we do.
So what do they do?
From the time we're conceived to the time we die.
I don't know about that one, but so what do they do? What they watch, or
in some cases, you have a multitude of spirit types. Okay, the Lenvedi comes from my heritage. Lenvedi are the spirits of the land. That's what it means. It's in Old Norse, and in Old Norse, these Lenvedis, they would go to battle with Ulfhethnar and, to a degree, the Berserkers, and they would be a force. All right, so we'll say you had an army and you were challenging my king. I was the Ulfhethnar and I would defend my king. I would employ the use of Lenvedi, and so you could technically look at finding rainstorms that lasted for days upon days upon days that would then slow down your advance, almost miring you down, or trees would fall and block the path, or rock slides would fall and crush some of your men. And so all of this is brought to you by...
Sorry, the spirit guys would cause the landslides or the trees?
Correct. Yes.
So they would interfere by causing landslides and trees. but they wouldn't actually stop anything.
They would not fight. No, that's not their job. Their
But
job.
they didn't have to fight. They could.
The
ground could suck up from underneath them, and they could get
Correct.
trapped in a giant hole. I mean, are these?
It would happen.
I mean, I feel like I'm smarter than these spirits already, and I'm not the smartest man on the planet. That's for sure. So interesting.
But
So they manipulate things to have little things change, but not anything with any kind of significance.
Well, I guess it would depend on your definition of significance.
A giant pothole where they're all stuck in it, so that kind of, they're trapped.
So now
as opposed to a tree falling in the woods, blocking a trail.
My army can now cut them down, and I don't lose any men. So
or a mudslide could just like bury them.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of lightning strike could set a fire in their path. I mean,
it's true.
Could actually do some.
That is accurate. That is an accurate, and that's what they do. Now, in addition to the Lenvedi, which have existed since before humans, the Lenvedi are assisted by our ancestors. Our ancestors don't just disappear. They don't go anywhere.
Huh.
They leave their physical form behind, yet they stay in energy form. It's
now we're getting too far. We're getting too far. Mark, sorry. We're getting too far.
Okay.
Sorry. Let's go back to the DNA. You're good. This is great. This is very interesting stuff. But I want to get back to that DNA. I want to figure out. So we manipulate the DNA. In what part do those forces play in that specific thing? You were talking about 100 babies, and then 98% of them, there's going to be a difference. That difference is not the spirits, though. It's people. People are causing that.
But what it could be is not indeed the spirits, but an influence by them. They could give us some knowledge. Or our spiritual self, our spiritual center could say,
I've heard this.
I need to learn this.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with this. So
I was so great last year, or last time I visited.
Last time around in life.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think I talked to somebody who thought something similar. So we can change our DNA before we come back to our new life. So
yes, we're going to alter it a little.
Have chosen to alter their DNA to give themselves cancer?
Not really. Well, to a degree. What they typically do, and what typically happens in a position like that, is that I have set up my DNA and the chemistry within my body to be more accepting. And then there's energies outside of us that could cause that. I mean, bottom line, if you worked, as an example, you worked under a radio tower your whole life, you have a very real possibility of having some level of damage from the energy waves that the radio towers are producing, right?
Okay.
Same thing is applying when you're talking about spiritual influence as well. If we set ourselves up for it, we have the potential to accept negative, non-productive energies, which could then cause
energies. Non-productive.
That's what I call it. I can,
energies.
Because
I know those people. I work with some of those people. Non-productive energies.
But
sorry.
It's energy that comes to us that we may not know how to use, may not know how to utilize, and so we may inadvertently utilize it incorrectly. In this case,
so we don't know we're using it incorrectly.
Correct.
So we're not giving ourselves cancer. So we're not totally in control.
To a large part of, say, cancer or diabetes or any other of these man diseases, yes, the energy comes from outside of us, and but we have set up the reception for that energy.
We have set up we accepted this energy. We want to have cancer our next time around. It's okay with us. We would like to suffer and die.
There are experiences, my friend, that we can have, even in the darkest, in what many others would consider so dark and so heinous. Yet many people whom I have spoken with who have been in that position do not see themselves that way. There are
I cannot see
experiences,
somebody willingly giving themselves a debilitating disease to where they would suffer and die from it. I
but
can't see that as a willing, thing I'm going to be doing, with my own free will. I just don't
well,
see that as a
you
thing.
you you may not
Doesn't make
per se
sense.
give yourself it, but you set yourself up for accepting it.
Yeah, Mark, it's kind of disturbing, honestly. I mean, go to a
All right.
cancer ward with a bunch of kids who are dying of
I
cancer and tell them, you set
I
yourself up for this in your
no,
previous life.
I
You
don't
thought
tell
this
them
was
that.
going to be a good idea, man. I know
I
you're
tell them
suffering and
that
it sucks,
you
but
have the energy
talk to your
to
past
grow
self.
through this,
It's
to grow
terrible.
through this,
Oh,
to grow
man.
through it.
Mark.
You have you know you what we typically do in many cases is we strip away our power
Oh,
and we give up. We say, "Oh, I have cancer. My wife survived cancer. My
a
wife
lot of people
survived cancer."
do, but a
But
lot of people don't, Mark. Well, that's the
I
ones I'm talking
understand.
about. I'm talking about the
I
misses right now.
I
Yeah,
understand, and
yeah.
that's true. And I I don't I don't know how to tell you that in some cases we are here to learn. We are here to grow.
Hmm.
And in some cases, this is a necessary thing. Like
Hmm.
death in war, it is a necessary thing. We
Hmm.
learn, we love, because I can tell you quite
Well,
honestly,
death and war
and
really
you're
isn't
on the when
necessary.
you're on the
I mean, we
verge,
could do it
if I
lots of
may,
different ways. Sorry, go
when
ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I have visited people on the edge, on the end, they were on their way.
Yeah,
They have told me what an experience that they have had.
yeah.
What a
Life is an
learning
experience for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
I
they've
mean, that
learned,
doesn't
they've
verify
loved.
any kind of spirit world, though. But
I
I
believe
mean,
it.
honestly, thank you for that, Mark. Let's get off of that for a minute. That's kind of a dark subject, and sorry we kind of started off there. Let's
No, that, well, we got to get busy, right?
yeah, got to get to it. So I want to get to the energies. These energies,
Mhm.
where do they come from? Did somebody make these energies? Are they natural as part of the
Yes,
universe, or how's that work?
yes, all of the above.
All of the
Um,
above. Somebody
all
made
the
it,
above.
and it's natural.
The original energies came from before anything, when there was a
The
void.
Infinity Stones.
Small particles came together to form what we know to be a consciousness. That consciousness then continued to grow and became what we now all refer to as a deity.
Okay, hold
Whether
on.
you decide to choose one, two, thousands, whatever, they are just large collections of energy.
Back up that God train. You said it was a collection of energy.
Yeah,
I wish I could Jim Carrey that, but
you're
pretend I
right.
did. And then,
Got it.
so you've got these
Jim Carrey,
energies that are in the universe, and
correct.
they come together. They're binging around, and all of a sudden they
Well,
come together.
well, they're going to draw. Whenever you get energies together in a vacuum, you do understand that they will coagulate by
It's
magnetism.
huge, expansive space.
Agreed.
So you've got
It,
energies coming together from which side of the universe? I mean,
uh,
there's so many
uh,
possibilities
universe
and
was like,
questions. And
the
go ahead.
universe was the universe didn't happen until after the Big Bang.
Yeah. So the energy was there before everything else. How do we figure that? How does that get there? How does the energy get there before anything else?
How could you have a deity figure larger than the universe?
I have no idea. The universe itself could be the deity. I like that idea. There you
Okay,
go.
that's a good one. But I choose to think that the deity figure is larger than the universe. The universe is just one section because the universe that we
So it's like
know
his toe.
that's expanding every day is part of the physical realm. So it's still
Man, this is getting deep. All right. Uh-huh.
it
Trying to
applies
follow.
with
Trying to
it, everything that we know to be the universe
uh
has planets, stars, space, all the things that are in the universe.
uh
Those that's all part of the physical realm. Why? Because if we had the Starship Enterprise, we could go to that place and we could touch that star. That means it's physical. It's physical matter.
Yeah. Totally
So
understand.
anything that we know or that we see through the Hubble telescope and we can see it, that means it's physical.
Everything we can interact with is physical. Yes. And then
Correct.
Spiritual is stuff that we can't interact with.
Correct.
We can't sense, see, hear, taste, touch. So how do we know it's there, though?
But the deity would have to be above that area, that thing that we call the universe. The deity would have to be larger than that for it to create that.
We haven't verified the other part yet, though. There's a spirit part.
That's true. Well, but technically, they are almost one and the same because they occupy the same time and space. This is where we started our conversation back at the atom, where we said that we had the proton, or the nucleus, rather, was the physical form, and the electron being the spiritual side. They occupy the same time and space because they're an atom. You're made of millions of them. Every one of your listeners. That's what they tell me. So every part that you have of a nucleus, you have electrons. Therefore, every part of your physical, you have part that's spiritual.
Well, that's the electron isn't spiritual, though.
Correct. But it's part of
the physical. Atom. So we're adding spiritual to it. We're taking physical and adding spiritual to it. You're just using the atom as an example. I'm using it. Correct. But we go. There's no spiritual involved in that, and that doesn't prove the point. Well,
it does. It proves that we can.
It's a nice analogy, but
we can. Yeah, agreed. And for clarification, what it means is that we have these two realms, the spiritual and the physical, that can occupy the same time and space, and we can do it at a molecular level.
But how do we know we're doing it?
How do you know
we can't sense it? If we're occupying the same space as the spiritual, how do we know that we are occupying the same space as something we cannot interact with?
But you do interact with it all the time. All the time. Every day.
How have I interacted with it today?
Have you felt happy today?
Yeah, those are emotions.
Emotions? What are emotions? Emotions are chemical.
Chemical reactions in the brain. Yes,
that's right. So they're chemical reactions. So, but within the brain, what do we need for you to have to know how to be happy?
Thoughts, history,
thoughts, a little
life experiences.
Experiences, right?
Yeah.
Are all your experiences all yours?
Yes, they're my experiences are my experiences.
But what most often you may have is experiences in your knowledge, in your intellect, that are used to convert this chemical thing to tell us how we feel. Some of those experiences may not be yours. They may be some of your ancestors.
Well, how do you know that?
Because I've never known how to do half the things that I now do.
I don't know what that means.
Studied
Explain that.
I mean, now I can do healings. I've healed people. I've never done that before.
Well, we'll get on that one. Let's put a pin in that. So all these things that you can do because your ancestors were able to do them.
Correct.
So your ancestors had healing powers. And because your ancestor had healing powers, you now have healing powers as well.
I must have had some interaction with them so that now I could do this skill.
So in your worldview, healing powers are a thing.
Yes. Have you never gone to bed when you feel sick and you say, damn, I just don't feel like doing this today. And you go back to bed, you sleep for 8 hours, you get up and you say, I feel better. Right?
It's my body does its thing. It's not really a healing power. It's natural.
Yeah, boy, it is. It is the healing power, my friend. You've just healed yourself. You took the medicine. What's the medicine? The medicine was rest.
Rest. But there's no spirit involved in that.
Go to the doctor, did you? Because you were tired.
Sometimes you do, yeah, and they give you medicine and that helps you, or surgeries if you need.
And you have a real hard problem. But maybe instead of going to the doctor, maybe you just need another nap or another rest, or let your body do what it's supposed to do. It happens all the time, my friend.
But where's the healing powers, though? Like these, it's nothing special. That's not an ancestral knowledge. That's just something our bodies do.
Okay, then physiologically, tell me what organ is in charge of healing you?
What organ is in charge of healing me? I don't think it's organ. I think it's my cells, my white blood. I don't, man. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how all that crap works. It's not spirits, though. I can tell you that. There's a lot smarter people out there that can quote it, but it's not me.
I guess we'll just agree to disagree there, because what I think is that we can receive healing energies. As an example,
what organ does that?
But when I was 22 years old, so a couple of moons ago, I overdosed on heroin.
That sucks, man.
No, it didn't. It was a wonderful experience because I learned so much. I overdosed. And for 8.5 minutes, I had no heartbeat. And instead of continuing for another 8 minutes, some stranger came. I don't know him. I didn't know him at the time, I should say. I didn't know who he was. And he grabbed me, dragged me over to his motorcycle, rode, I have no idea. I wasn't conscious. He actually tied his belt around me so that I was connected to him. And we drove to his house, his double wide or single wide trailer in the middle of the Arizonian desert, where he locked me in a bedroom for 3 months.
Wow.
As I fought the demons that raced through my mind and ridded myself of heroin. During those 3 months, I envisioned all kinds of things. Some of them I'm absolutely convinced were hallucinations based on the heroin leaving my system.
How the body works.
Some of them were not. Some of them was knowledge as to what I needed to do, how I needed to go forward, what I needed to act. Now, there is a bright lining on this cloud. Is 3.5 months later, he took me into his kitchen. I was clean, had a wonderful breakfast. He gave me the car keys to his pickup truck, said, I've already packed all your family's belongings in the truck. Go and never come back to Arizona. And that's exactly what I did. My family at the time lived in Washington, the state of Washington, there over by Seattle. So I drove the 100 miles it is, got there the night before Christmas Eve. I lived in a barn there with my brother. And 4 weeks from that day that I arrived in Washington, I met my shield maiden at the time. 6 weeks later, we were married, and we've been married 33 years. I have never looked at drugs. I have never considered them as an option. I have never even needed them, as I've begun a life of trance work and spirit channeling. I've done it all now, and I've never needed to go back. Now, could I have been that Will Powers? No. I'm just a person.
People can do amazing things, man.
They
Our
do,
bodies can
but
do amazing things.
they also have a tendency to go with the flow of the water. They don't typically like to swim upstream. Most
I don't know
people
what that means.
are more willing to just let things continue to happen. In my case, I could have stayed. I could have somehow magically awoken from my overdose, and I could have gone on with life, partying, more heroin, more cocaine. Who knows?
Hmm.
But I didn't. And more importantly, I've never had the need to be there again. I've
So
never,
yeah.
and so I'm convinced beyond any doubt that there are forces far, far greater than me who are guiding us, who are granting us knowledge, experience, wisdom, and healing as we go forward. And they're trying
Granting
to
it.
make the life of they're trying to make existence more harmonious. And that's what my ancestors wanted because that's what they lived. My ancestors come from Denmark. 53 generations from Denmark, from Bjerrebison.
Hmm.
And of those 53 generations that I have documented because of another a reason, they believed in a simplicity. And they knew without any reservations who was driving, who was in charge, who made things happen for them. And that knowledge has passed on. And so living now the way I do, I try to live very simplistically, and I give credit to all the spirits, whether it be the Lamvetti who have helped me with my grass and my yard and all the things around me, whether it be my ancestors for giving me the gift of knowledge about my family, about ancestors that unfortunately I never had the chance to meet. But all of this has come from my spiritual connections and my spiritual particularly in the trance work, but certainly in the channeling as well. And so there leaves no doubt for me.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that, Mark.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. And thank you for, I really appreciate when people challenge the thinking because we don't grow, again, as I mentioned before, when we just ride the water down the creek. We grow when we dig our feet in the sand and we turn and we face the current and we begin to learn and grow. And that's how, if you're going to exercise, they say, I have a good friend who's Mr. Fitness.
Huh.
Anyway, one of his exercises is he has a small river by his house. It's a small river. Anyway, he walks against it. And that's part of his exercise every day. Like I would go for a walk in the park. He goes for a walk up the river. And that's what he does. And he works his legs. He's a runner. That's what he does. So
it makes sense. Yeah. It's good.
But yeah.
Good idea.
And so and he does that. And I started thinking about that and I started really pondering it. And I started communicating with my spiritual self. And it taught me. That's when we grow. That's where we see muscle growth is when we're pushing upriver. If we're going downriver,
we're challenging ourselves 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you do it. You got to challenge yourself or else you're not going to make it anywhere. You're just going to sit on the couch and watch Bonanza reruns. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Walt. I know you're out there somewhere.
Bonanza, yeah. Bonanza, good show. Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a whole nother... That's a whole other thing. Well, thank you. I did come to a couple other questions here. You said they were granting things, the spirits. Granting us.
If I use the word granting, maybe granting was a bad word choice.
Okay. So what could do? do they because you had mentioned they're allowed to do little things.
Well,
Why are they only doing the little things? Are they not able to do the big things to step in?
well,
Like right now, if we wanted them to, let's just say, go, we could have that healing power going to a cancer ward or somewhere where there's children who are going to die, and they could grant us that power to go in there and heal them. Are they capable of doing something like that? And if not, why not?
well, I think our understanding of that picture is a little skip. Could they heal people, as you mentioned, in a cancer ward that's in the child's hospital? Um, there are energies that can heal, yes. Much the same way that that they use not chemotherapy, but the other one, radiation therapy, for cancer. Sure, there are energies that can heal. The question is who's giving it? Who's directing it? I mean, they don't wander around aimlessly looking for people to heal. No, I would
So someone
imagine
is
they have
directing the
many
good
other things.
energies to heal certain people, but not other people.
I think they. I would suppose, and this is supposition on my part, um, is that they need to be directed. The energy needs to be focused to an individual.
Okay, so someone is directing it to heal somebody and not somebody else. And
Yes.
that is the god, the deity, the
No,
no.
that's going to be a person on Earth, a physical form is directing that energy. This is mom and dad. Mom and dad is probably funneling more energy into that child than could light a small city, because they're really, really wanting them to heal, and they're
Mark.
drawing on other energies.
So the more, hold on. So mom and dad are directing good energies into the kid who's dying of cancer. Then you've got an entire church directing good energies, and then you've got the entire town directing good energies, but the kid still dies. Why?
But
Did the
see,
good energies not
um,
good enough? How's that work?
well, no, I'm fearful in my answer because many people whom I have dealt with in over the years say they do one thing and then don't, and may do exactly the opposite.
So the town didn't care enough. They really said they were caring, but they didn't
I
care.
can't, and I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus here. I'm
But
just
that's the
not going
only
to
other
do
way
that.
it could be. Either it's not real or somebody just didn't care enough. And so it can't
Somebody
not be real.
focus right energy. Yeah.
It's got to be somebody else's fault.
I no, I will not point fault. It's an experience.
We kind of
Life
just did
experience.
there, Mark, though. We kind of just
I,
did.
I I no, I'm simply saying there are energies that arrived at a child that were not productive in healing the illness.
And whose fault was it? The energies or the person's?
And or both. Because energy can be corrupted, right? If I stand next to a microwave, I
well,
can't stand next to a microwave with my cell phone. When I'm cooking my coffee, I got to put my cell phone down, or otherwise my reception goes to poo, right? I mean,
well, I don't know
so
about that, but you're cooking your coffee in your microwave. That's a whole nother issue.
no, that's the way you cook the coffee. I thought that's how you got it
I
warm.
don't. I like cold coffee. That's just my thing. That's this Santa
Oh,
Claus here on this side of the North Pole. He enjoys cold coffee.
oh well, I'm in 37 inches of snow, so I appreciate warm
Oh,
coffee.
oh, man, I do miss
But
some
what
snow
I'm
though.
saying is that you can have a corruption that's not caused
Mm.
purposely. It could be inadvertent. There could be people, and there are people in this world who are energy sinks. They just are. It's a natural state for them. How many people do you know? How many people do you know who can't wear watches?
I don't know anybody that can't wear watches. I know nobody that
Oh,
can't wear watches.
oh my goodness, really? Oh, I know a
Yeah.
bunch. Anyway,
Oh, well,
I
I
can
know
introduce.
some through you then.
Yes, yes. Vicariously, you're going to have to live here.
Uh-huh.
But there's something in their code, in their genetics, in their chemistry that literally will kill a watch. As an example,
Kill a watch.
Cannot wear. Yeah. Oh, I've killed several.
I thought they just couldn't wear it, like it was uncomfortable, or they didn't
Oh
like the
no,
way
I'm
it
sorry.
looks. Or
No, they can't wear a watch for long because
they
they actually
kill
the watch.
watches.
Yes.
I don't understand. How does one kill a watch?
You know, I haven't prayed about that, so I can't give you an authoritative answer. But what I can say is, darn, I wish I had that Rolex back. Because I have gone through eight watches.
Oh, Mark.
Good watches. These are not Walmart's. These are Rolex, Tag Heuer.
Oh, Walmart sponsors this show, though, Mark. Shh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm joking.
Okay. You made me nervous for a minute, my friend.
You're fine.
So, I mean, it wasn't until I got an Apple Watch, and I've actually had this Apple Watch now for about a year, which is the longest watch I've ever owned in my life. Because what happens is, the little, I guess there's a little thing, and I don't understand it. So I took him to a watchmaker and said, "Can you fix this?" And for $500 or whatever he charged me, he said, "No, I can't."
Did you really want it fixed though? Because the spirits can sense that. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure they could.
Your energies.
And they probably knew I didn't want to spend $400 more on that darn watch.
Apparently they didn't care.
Yeah, well, yeah. They told me, actually, maybe they were just telling me I needed to buy an Apple Watch before I really did.
Oh man. Apple now sponsors this show.
Oh, okay. Well, we're golden then. They do it for my show, so it's all good.
Oh man, send them over here. So okay, what happened? Why does it doesn't work? Because you put off an energy?
I'm guessing yes. I'm guessing there must be some energies within, in my case, I have a watch for about, it usually takes about 2.5 to 3 months. And I'll wear it because I wear my watch all day, right? Like everybody else.
That's a lot, Mark. That's a lot.
Sorry, I just do.
No, that's a lot. Like you're breaking watches. I mean, and the spirits can do this and that and this and that.
Crazy.
It really brings me down to though. It brings me down to, is somebody in charge of all of this? Are the spirits acting on their own? Is there a higher deity besides the people that apparently can affect the spirits? But is there you said there was some kind of something. Is that something in control of those spirits? Or is it just there to create and watch?
It is there to create and teach. Deities don't do, well, I can't say they don't do anything because they do a lot.
Well, but the
deity figures, the collectives of energy, and you can put any name, any label we'd like, whether it be Yahweh, Buddha, Confucianism. I happen to seek the ones of my ancestors, which is Odin, which defines the masculine properties of energy, and
Wednesday,
Freya, which then identifies the feminine part of the energy that I receive. So,
do you call him Wednesday?
I'm sorry.
What do you call him? Do you call him Wednesday or do you call him Odin?
I call him Sir. The only time I've ever met him was
you met Odin.
I did. I had a vision.
Did he look like us?
No.
Oh, damn it.
He was much taller. He reminded me, well, I can't even say he reminded me of Chris Hemsworth because he was much taller than that. And he
wasn't Odin.
He was much bigger. And he was Odin. I know there are a few things in my
Hemsworth
world.
Wasn't Odin though. Hemsworth wasn't.
Oh yes, agreed. I was just using him for a size comparison because I believe wonderful actor plays Odin in that Marvel series. And
Anthony Hopkins,
much small, yes, and he's much smaller.
Yes.
So I was only using Chris Hemsworth for the size. But
so the deities, what do? They don't do much. They teach.
Well, they do. They do create They create and
Create.
they release and manage the energies of the universe.
They
So
do manage the energies. There it is. They manage the energies. So, oh, well.
I think manage might be a loose term.
I love it. I love this. We're changing terms. This is good. This is good.
Manage might be a little brutal because what they do is they don't monitor it because they
No.
really don't care. It has no bearing on anything.
Huh. Why even create it if it doesn't matter?
It does matter.
Oh,
The
it does
management
matter.
of it doesn't matter.
The management doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter who lives, who dies, as long as the
No,
exists.
we're mixing a negative in there when we say that no one cares if someone dies.
No, the
and
deity doesn't care.
Don't care.
That's right.
I disagree. I disagree. Deities do care. They care about all peoples. I mean, you are their creation.
So
they care,
okay.
but they also understand that there's been a learning experience that your spiritual self need to have.
Oh, again, Mark, that's really horrible to tell to a kid dying in a cancer ward. That's so bad. It's so bad. We're back at that. We're gonna kind of end it there, though. I do want to know what Odin said before we close it out, though. What did Odin tell you in your vision?
In lieu of me telling you, I'm going to throw out a tidbit. In lieu of telling you, I wrote a book. The book was published in May of this year.
Congrats.
In the book's name is The Turn to Final. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the places that you buy it. And in the book, I describe very in detail, word for word, what was told to me. And in most cases, most people may look at it and go, it doesn't matter so much to them. But for me, it was a life-changing moment when I was given my birthright. And that's really important. My ancestors, they lived and died by birthright. In modern day America, unfortunately, we really kind of shrug that off as something that's not important. But it is in my ancestors and now in my life, it is. It's critical to what I am and to what I represent and what I do. And so that's what was given to me that night. So if I had to say, what did Odin say? I mean, there was a lot of him telling me about my birthright and what that meant and what I was to do. And I swore an oath and I repeated a phrase that I had never heard before to a man I had never met in person before, and who at one point, when I was ordained in the Christian church, I had denounced.
Yeah, you kind of have to do that. It's kind of one of their rules.
Yeah. So,
no other gods and whatnot.
Yeah. And so, yeah, they get a little crabby about that. But I had said, there has to be something else. There just has to be. We cannot live with a singular perspective in our lives. We can't.
Well,
there must be.
We also can't just start
way.
choosing things that, sound good either.
Well, and that's really where I work with a lot of people, and that's what one of my main messages is: you have choices. You have choices, and some of them are going to be hard. I'm not going to lie. I won't sugarcoat it. Some of them are going to be very hard. They're going to be very emotionally wrapped. So they're going to be even more difficult if they weren't already difficult enough. But we have a choice. We simply have to accept the ramification for that choice. There may be a harder experience if we change our trajectory. It may be easier. We don't know. And unlike everything and everyone who's come from the Christian church, who says our plan our life's trajectory is all planned out already. It's not. You can change. Like I walked away, survived from heroin and cocaine and all of the horrible things that I had done in my earlier lives. You can change. Now, will I look any man in the eye and tell him that, my life after leaving that world behind has been easy?
Yeah.
33 years of marriage. I have 5 children and now 4 beautiful grandchildren. No, my life has been a challenge every step of the way. When I left the Christian church, my wife was threatened with violence.
Yeah,
We've survived.
That's about right. I mean, that's what their God does. I mean,
so
like father, like kids.
So, we unfortunately, yes, can I go into a cancer ward of children and tell them that, you did this to yourself? No. Would I? No. Would I tell the parents that? No.
Yeah, but that's still something you believe, though. And if it's something you wouldn't tell them, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I would tell them that and I'm going to join forces with them, is we are going to try to focus positive energy.
Yeah, well, I'm all about that positive, for sure.
Yeah, and just keep pushing that narrative to where they do, and we get all the people surrounding, and we do the best we can.
Yeah,
we learn, we love, we love those children. We love the parents who have to endure that. And my heart goes out to everyone who has suffered a child. One of my sons was born without lungs. Well, that's not true. He has 2 ribs of lungs on either side. He's one in 250 million babies that are born in this condition that actually lived. He is now 28 years old. And has my granddaughter, my only granddaughter, one of my grandsons. And I beam with excitement for him, for his children. And so, can I say, with definity that I have all the answers? No. I'm just another journeyer, just like everyone else. I'm learning as I go. I'm embracing my ancestry and the spirituality that I'm being taught or I'm learning. And so, I don't claim to know it all.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that, and thank you for sharing. But I mean, if you're going to give credit, oh man, I totally lost my train of thought on that. Damn, that was bad. All right, well, we're going to end it there, anyways.
Okay. No, it's probably a great thought. So if it comes to you later, just email it.
Yeah, I'll probably put it in the intro. We'll put it in the intro. As soon as we hang up, I'll remember. But anyways, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for your time. Go ahead and where can we find your stuff? Where can we find you? Go ahead and plug it.
Okay, well, the best place to start is AK Ulf Hefnar. And that's spelled AK for Alaska. Ulf Hefnar is ULF as in Frank, HED as in dynamite, NAR.com. And from there, you can get to all of our social media. You can get to a copy of the book. I mean, you can get to everything about me and getting in touch with me, communicating with me and my team. It's all there on that webpage. A wonderful source and a great start. And then you can always find us on YouTube, TikTok, all of those
weird places,
social media things, that my staff thinks is really important. So, so they're all there. But what I try to encourage people is if you have a question, I would rather you come to me and just ask it. I'm not judgmental. I want you to just ask me, talk to me, and I would rather you talk to me or anyone. Just get it out there. And maybe you'll find some relief, and keep asking. Don't give up. Don't quit. Never quit.
Yeah.
It's not worth surrendering. And that's my mantra is just never surrender. Just keep
There it
asking,
is.
looking for
There it
hope.
is. Never give up. Never surrender. Galaxy Quest. Great film. I do remember what it was now. I'm going to save it for the intro. So in order for you to catch that, you got to rewatch the episode when it comes out.
Nice. All right.
All right, Mark.
Well,
this has been a blast.
I very
Thank you
much
so much.
appreciate-
Yeah.
I very much appreciate you, and I really do. I really do appreciate people who are giving people hope, because that's really what the world needs right now. More than anything else right now, we need hope, and we need people who are willing to come out, stand against the current, and shout in a loud voice. There is hope.
Loving voice. A loud, loving voice. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, my friend. Love and light to you and your listeners.
Thank you. I'll let you know when this comes out.
Thank you.
That's all the show there is for you today. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find me at the Bible Says What YouTube and Facebook pages. You can also find clips of the show on TikTok under BSW the Podcast. If you like what you heard and want to help keep the recording light on, simply go to patreon.com/BSW the Podcast and sign up to be a supporter of the show. Your episodic tithes of $1 or more will get you early access to each episode by at least 3 days, stickers, shirts, and shoutouts. That's patreon.com/BSW the Podcast. For the latest events, BSW swag, including signed copies of The Bible Says What the book, head on over to the show's ever-evolving webpage at thebiblesayswhat.com. And no matter which platform you use to listen to your podcasts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next episode. Until then, would you kindly pick up your Bibles and read them? Exist, and that there was usually a natural fucking Firebrand level patrons get a signed copy of the book signed with Firebrand level patrons get a signed copy of the book stuffed with all sorts of BSW stickers and cards. Thank you for all. Oh man.